Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Markets. My name is Ansel Lindner, and today we have a few stories to cover. First one up is going to be Gary Gensler testifying in front of Congress. We're going to watch a few clips of that. Then we're going to go into some macro stuff about weighting in portfolios, equities versus bonds. We're also going to look at total private debt in a lot of the major economies in the world. And lastly, if we have time, I'm going to get into Janet Yellen. Oh, sorry, not Janet Yellen. This is Christine Lagarde, president of the ECB, and what she had to say in a speech. It's a pretty long excerpt. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have time today to read through it all. I might have to do a completely separate stream just on that. But anyways, guys, welcome. You can find out all my stuff or follow all my stuff on bitcoinandmarkets.com. That's where all my content comes out. You can subscribe to the free weekly newsletter. If you'd like to support my content, you can do that there as well by becoming a paid member. I appreciate everybody that supports. Other places that you can find me: YouTube. The channel is BTC Market Update. It's not Bitcoin and Markets because that one got terminated, and now this is a secondary channel. I'm on Twitter at Ansel Lindner. Many of you watch these daily streams there, so you're already following. Where else? Telegram, of course, is my home base for daily discussions. We have a channel, t.me/Bitcoin and Markets. We talk Bitcoin, charts, macro, even get into some philosophy stuff. I try not to go too heavy on that, even though on slow days in Bitcoin, it's fun to just post things that make you think a little bit deeper about the meaning of life or where we're going in the grand scheme of all these things. So you can find all that on the Telegram group. We go deep into a lot of that stuff. So t.me/Bitcoin and Markets. Is that all up front? I think that is. Let me share my screen here, and we are going to go into, this is the website. I try to get these live streams out as a podcast version. Slowly but surely catching up, but you can see this one went out today in the podcast apps. It was recorded on the 5th, so I'm still 2 weeks behind. We'll see. We'll see if I can catch up. But now let's go into the charts really quickly. I'm going to share this with Telegram since they have audio only. This is the Bitcoin chart, and it's not looking the greatest. This is a daily chart. You can see we broke out here to 31,000. We touched 31,000 at the top, and it's almost like a premature consolidation here. New lower low here this morning. So let's go to the hourly and kind of check it. And so we did squeak out a new lower low this morning on this consolidation with a failure to break out to any sort of, new highs. And so this isn't looking good. I think we might consolidate here. I am writing the next edition of the Bitcoin Market Pro, or I guess it's Premium Market Pro, is the premium content on my website. I have not finished that yet. We'll see if I can get that out this afternoon or tomorrow morning, and it'll be all about Bitcoin and maybe some selected macro charts. But if we can stay above 25,000, the entire structure of this move is still intact. There are some things moving up. Let me bring on the moving averages. And so the green is the 50-day, and let me post that. And I try not to talk on the live stream when I'm doing those, switching between tabs, because the audio likes to cut out on Restream, but I'm working on that. Anyway, you can see the green line is the 50-day moving average. It's at 26.6. The blue line is the 100-day at 24.6. And then the orange is the 200-day, which is starting to move up pretty quickly here as well. There are a few other levels, a few other indicators that are showing around 25 to 26,000 as support. So if we do come down, it might be a fake out here, coming back down and bouncing off of that support zone around 26 to 25,000. And then we could see a bounce very similar to early March. A move that goes 30% or something like that. Ultimately, I still have my targets. My targets have not changed, and you can get those on the Market Pro. I've talked about those in the past on these live streams, but trying to drive people to that Market Pro to support the show. Okay, so that is Bitcoin. Let's take a look real quick at Ethereum, and I'll take these moving averages off. This arrow down here is the Shanghai fork. We rallied off of that. There was a few different reasons to rally off of that. Talked about that recently in the past. It was not necessarily, well, I think it is ultimately going to turn out into a sell the news event, but on the day, there was uncertainty that was relieved in the market. People that want to unstake, they are, hold on one second. Sorry, the wife was leaving the front door, so I had to mute myself. Okay, so you can see that initially there was uncertainty that was relieved in the market, so we had the price go up a little bit. Also, people that ultimately wanted to dump, they want to build some liquidity for that dump, and so it makes sense that you would the price could be bid up into sells. Okay, so these people that are unstaking and able to sell off. Now that we can actually go into the unstake. Well, let's not waste the time on that. But there are websites, and I've shared these on the Telegram as well, where you can see the charts of what has been staked versus unstaked recently, and there is a big dive in people unstaking their coins. There is a post lockup period, so you can't just unstake and dump that same day. I don't know exactly how long that is. I need to look that up. It was proposed, I believe, in the past at 60 days or 90 days. So it's a pretty significant period. And we will see how the price of Ethereum goes, in the next couple months. But ultimately, I think this will turn into a sell the news event. Okay, so that was Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a quick look at the dollar. Nothing significant to report. It's a little bit off the lows. I still expect the dollar to strengthen. I expect bonds to strengthen, Bitcoin to strengthen, stocks to strengthen, pretty much a reverse of 2022 here in 2023. And so far, that's been pretty good, except for the dollar. That is the laggard in my whole thesis right now. Okay, oil, pretty big sell-off. Going to share that one. Pretty big sell-off for the day in oil. It's got to come all the way back down to 75 to close this gap. It's not looking good, guys. Yes, they're cutting their quotas, they're cutting production, but ultimately, this tells the market that things are really bad. And we've looked at a lot of things recently about credit expansion in the private sector, and it's not looking good. Okay, so the global economy is slowing down quite drastically, and I've said in the past that it could be as much as 10% of oil production that's not needed anymore. At least it's the demand for oil in the world pre-COVID was around 100 million barrels per day. And I can see that demand actually getting cut by 10% in this coming oil glut, energy glut that we're going to have. And so even though they're cutting by 2 million barrels, 1.5 or 1.6 million barrels, whatever it is, there's a lot of excess supply that can be cut here in the future just to maintain prices at their current state. And remember that the OPEC countries, they want to target around $80 a barrel. That's what they really want to target. That comes from years ago, probably a decade ago. I watched an interview with one of these Saudi princes, and he was talking about how $80 was perfect for everybody. It was good for the economy. There was no demand destruction. It was good for them. So 80 is where they were targeting. That was back decades ago, and it's probably roughly the same today. They don't want it to be 150. That would be demand destruction and hurt the OPEC countries. But if oil is too low, that also hurts the OPEC countries. They want something, right in that Goldilocks zone around $80 a barrel. And so far, it's been right about there. Okay, so that's oil. Stocks on the day are green. They're above some important levels. And I mean, you could make an argument that this is slightly bearish right now. This move has not completed. But if we fail to achieve these highs once again, so the highs from early February, if we don't get to those highs, this will be seen as weakness in my mind, and probably we're going to be looking at some lower lows. However, there's multiple signs, and I've been sharing some other charts from other macro commentators out there that the bottom is in. Okay, especially when you look. One that I shared yesterday was when you look at the timing compared to inflation peaks. And let me see if I can find that, because that was a great chart. And I might just have to share my Telegram window. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, so I'm going to actually share this. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then share a window. There we go. Okay, I think you guys can see that now. This red line is the current stock market since the inflation peak, CPI peak. It's right in this blue zone, which is the 25th through the 75th percentile of all historic moves. So they looked at all, the history of the S&P 500 and all the inflation peaks and how it, according to these months, how it has acted relative to that inflation peak. And it is right in the center of the average. If we went to new lows, so the low would be coming down below this orange line, the red line moving down below the orange line, that would take us way out of the average. So most likely, and yes, this was a very unique CPI experience. It was due to massive supply chain crisis, supply shocks, which aren't necessarily what we see with the past. But if the stock market went to new lows, it would be completely outside the normal. This also shows that path for the rest of the year is up if you follow it according to CPI. So very, very interesting chart there. I'm going to stop sharing that and go back into the chart. So I'm watching this on a daily basis, posting my updates to Telegram and a little bit more to Twitter. Recently, I've started posting a little bit more to Twitter again. I've been off of Twitter 95% for the last couple of years. I don't know. I just wanted to get away from that. And now I think it's going to be good for my content, and especially with the numbers that we're seeing on FedWatch and this show. So I'm back onto Twitter. So speaking of Twitter, let's watch a couple videos here. This is a hilarious meme from the BTC therapist. Nico shared it. Man, Gensler was testifying yesterday in front of Congress, and he was really getting grilled. So let's make sure I'm sharing my audio from this tab. I think I am. And we'll go ahead and play this. What am I doing?
Ether is one of the most popular digital assets and powers the Ethereum blockchain. Back in 2018, then SEC Corporation Finance Director Bill Hinman stated that he believed Ether was not a security. Last month, CFTC Chair Benham expressed his view that Ether is a commodity. The State Attorney General of New York asserted in a court filing last month that Ether is a security. Clearly, an asset cannot be both a commodity and a security. Do you agree?
Actually, all securities are commodity under the Commodity and Exchange Act. It's that we are excluded commodities. But I would agree that a security cannot be also an excluded commodity and an included commodity. I'm sorry, Chair, just to talk.
Okay, I thought that was interesting because I wasn't aware of that all securities were technically and legally commodities, and that there's excluded and non-excluded commodities. So, yeah, Gensler schooling McHenry, but let's continue on this.
Talk about the Commodity Exchange Act more precisely.
Okay, so do you recognize, how would you categorize Ether then?
Look, I think that the general sweep of what Congress did, not just in the 30s, but as amended.
I'm asking you, sitting in your chair now, to make an assessment under the laws as exist. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
Okay, a lot of people were really hyped up about the direct nature of this question. I don't think he expected an answer because, yes, Gensler is somewhat of an expert on blockchain and on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but he would have to be making some legal official announcement here under testimony, under oath, and I don't think that he would do that. So he's trying to avoid this, and McHenry knows that. Why would McHenry ask this question so blatantly, openly, bluntly? Maybe we'll get an answer. Let's keep listening.
Without speaking to anyone.
I know you've repeatedly said you're not going to speak to one, except you've spoken to one, Bitcoin. So I'm asking you to speak to a second one, the second largest market cap here.
And speaking to the tokens, there's 10 to 12,000. If there's a group of entrepreneurs in the
asking
middle,
about one.
The public is anticipating a profit based on the...
I'm asking you a specific question, Chair Gensler. I said this in private. This should be no shock to you. I'm asking this question. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
And again, it depends on the facts and the law, and if there's a group of individuals...
I'm asking you about the facts and the law sitting in your seat and the judgment you are making.
Okay, so there, Gensler was going to go on to say, if there is a group in the middle, yada, 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 but he was cut off by McHenry, and McHenry said there, we talked about this in private. So this is pure performance, in my opinion. McHenry knew that he's seen as being friendly towards Bitcoin and quote-unquote crypto, I guess, but this was pure performance.
And so, Mr. Chair, I think you would not want me to prejudge because I'm also...
But you have prejudged on this. You've taken 50 enforcement actions. We're finding out as we go, as you file suit, as people get Wells notices on what is a security in your view, in your agency's view. I'm asking you a very simple question about the second largest digital asset.
Okay, people have said for 8 years that these altcoins are all unregistered securities. People have said this. So the thing is that people that claim that they're not unregistered securities, it's not that they have the burden of proof, because no, they're innocent until proven guilty. However, obviously the SEC agrees with those people that have been saying this for years. Obviously. Why discount the ability for people to think for themselves? Why do you have to appeal to the authority of the SEC? You were wrong. People that, not McHenry, and probably not listeners of this show, but these altcoin people were wrong. They should learn and adopt a different argument or a different understanding of the situation. The thing is, they're trying to press him into a box to say something when they know by experience, for years, they know the arguments that these things are unregistered securities. Think for yourself, people.
What is your view?
And my view is if there's a group of individuals in the middle that the public is
All right, so let me just ask a second question then. Do you think it serves the market for an object to be viewed by the commodities regulator as a commodity and the securities regulator to be viewed as a security? Do you think that provides safety and soundness for the product? Do you think it provides consumer protection? Do you think it serves the value of innovation? I think no should be a very simple answer for you here.
I think
that uncertainty is bad, is it not?
And I think that Congress has said that there's one agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, under this committee.
And you won't answer my question, and you're the head of that agency. So give me a break. Come on.
I'm answering it in the generic because you would not want me to speak about any one set of facts and circumstance.
Okay, but you've already spoken. Have you said anything about Bitcoin?
My predecessors and the agency itself has spoken to them.
Okay,
yes.
But you're not willing to do the same about Ether. Okay, so let me just step back. There's a lack of clarity here.
There's no lack of clarity, people. These things are unregistered securities. Bitcoin is the only commodity. It is clear as day. Sorry, damn, I hit my mic. It is clear as day. We've been saying it, shouting it from the rooftops for years. There is no lack of clarity. There is only a lack of willingness to agree or willingness to accept these arguments. It is a fact that all of these altcoins are centralized. They're all bought with the understanding of price appreciation based on the best, the efforts of a central party. They're all unregistered securities. Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin is not. That's why they can be clear on Bitcoin and not necessarily clear on these other things. I mean, I'm not supporting the SEC, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing it back against this idea that there is not clarity. There is clarity. There's just, you don't like it. Let's continue.
In the marketplace. Can you at least agree to that?
I think that the clarity is there. The law is clear.
All right.
There's a group
so
of individuals.
Yes, clarity is there, Gensler.
Let me be explicit about this. The market doesn't see it. Your regulatory actions and the CFTC's...
No, the market doesn't want to believe it, McHenry. The market sees it. The market knows these arguments. Bitcoiners have been saying them for years.
Regulatory actions say that there's a great deal of uncertainty here. It is the intention of this committee to fix that uncertainty and actually provide a sound legal basis.
The uncertainty is there is a sliver of a chance that the SEC will not come after unregistered securities if they have the term crypto or blockchain or coin. That's the uncertainty. It's not an uncertainty around that these things break securities laws. They do. All right, the next part, Gensler is getting grilled here by GOP Majority Whip, and he's talking about some of this stuff. So I wanted to play this through.
Thank you.
Oh, geez, hold on. I'm going to try not to interrupt this, but we'll see. It's 5 minutes. I don't want to do all 5. So, all right, let's go.
A lot of questions in a limited amount of time. So if you could keep your answers to either a yes or a no, that will allow us to get through as
Come on.
many as possible, sir. From your perspective, is it more
I don't know why this is buffered. I might have to refresh this.
difficult now for the digital asset industry to act?
Okay, refresh and tab. Sorry about this.
Gensler, I have a lot of questions in a limited amount of
I'm not running one of those businesses. If they came
Oh my gosh, we might have to skip
into
this.
compliance, I think that would
Reclaiming
be-
my time. The answer, sir, is yes. Do you think you and the SEC have had a role to play in that?
I think we have a role to protect the American investor.
Okay, I'm not going to wait through all that buffering, but pretty much what he was said here is he's grilling them, saying that there's all this lack of clarity, that they're driving innovation outside of the United States and X, Y, Z. And I agree. My reaction when I first saw this was, how can anybody else watch this and think that the government's going to come after Bitcoin? So this whole thing is built off of going after shitcoins, legitimate scams, unregistered securities, and the SEC is going after them. And these people are pushing back. These representatives, committee members, whatever, are pushing back on the crackdown on scams. Imagine if it were Bitcoin. I saw a tweet by Marty Bent and saying, sorry guys, that it's a fact. They're going to come after you. They're going to make it illegal for Bitcoin transactions. They're going to do X, Y, Z. But how can he say that watching this? And this is not even getting into Bitcoin. This is just talking about scams. There's people out there protecting the scams, protecting the fraud. It's a very weird conversation to watch here. With on one side, you have people protecting fraud, and on the other side is the people protecting force and trying to mitigate that fraud. It's a really weird conversation to watch it, and when you're watching Gensler in front of Congress here. But I mean, I support deadlock. And I don't know how you can watch this and think that there's not going to be any deadlock on creating actual bills that go after Bitcoin. Another thing, there's a lot of gridlock right now in the Senate. Feinstein, one of the senators there, they need all 50 of the Democrat senators to pass something. And now she is very ill, I guess, old age stuff. And so she's not able to vote on some of these new justices that they're trying to get in, Biden appointed justices. So this is, if they can't even get justices that don't make laws, I mean, they will try to maybe legislate from the bench. So they are somewhat important, but they're not nearly as big a deal as voting on to ban Bitcoin or to ban Bitcoin mining or to do something like that. And they can't even pass those judges. How do people think that they're going to come after Bitcoin? Especially because a lot of these people own Bitcoin. McHenry owns Bitcoin. So I just don't see it. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a half empty guy. I'm a half full guy. So anyway, that was interesting. Now going on here along these lines, we have Corey Clipson. He just has hot take after hot take. Really like this guy and his content that he puts out for our consumption. But here he says, is this real? Selected clauses from a future SEC complaint against Coinbase with reference to Ethereum being a security. From point number 179, from the time of its offering and continuing through the relevant period, ETH was offered and sold as an investment contract and therefore a security. Point number 180. Today, two entities are responsible for Ethereum. One, the Ethereum Foundation, an organization purportedly focused on Ethereum protocol governance, token dynamics, and supporting grassroots open source development on the Ethereum ecosystem. And two, Consensus Inc., a company purportedly focused on layer 1 development of the Ethereum protocol and enabling enterprise adoption of Ethereum blockchain technology. Point number 181. The Ethereum Foundation and Consensus Inc. purportedly collaborate on projects and initiatives for the Ethereum ecosystem. Point number 185. The price of all ETH tokens goes up or decreases together. investors in ETH had a reasonable expectation of profits based on the efforts of others. Point number 186. The publicly available information disseminated by Consensus Inc. and the Ethereum Foundation led ETH investors to reasonably expect to profit from Consensus Inc.'s and the Ethereum Foundation's efforts to grow the Ethereum protocol, which would in turn potentially increase demand for and therefore the value of the ETH token itself. Point number 187. In public statements on Twitter, as well as on their respective websites, Consensus Inc. and the Ethereum Foundation promote the Ethereum protocol. Number 188. The Ethereum Foundation promoted that ETH investors could receive participation awards, purportedly a form of staking by delegation, by, quote, participation in the Ethereum ecosystem via holding ETH in an online wallet. Point number 192. Consensus Inc. and the Ethereum Foundation also take steps to incentivize third parties to participate in and attract users to the Ethereum protocol. Point number 194. These statements led reasonable ETH investors to expect that the demand for ETH would likely increase based on Consensus Inc.'s and the Ethereum Foundation's efforts to increase demand for the Ethereum technology, thereby resulting in a price increase for ETH. Do you see it yet, Anon? The points of fact above are copied verbatim from the SEC complaint against Bittrex with reference to Algorand, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but Algo and Algo Foundation and the Algo token. Find and replace all of those things with Consensus, Ethereum Foundation, and ETH. So he did a little switcheroo on us. This is not Ethereum talk, but if you take out all of those references to Algo and put ETH in there, it's the exact same story. It's the exact same fraud. And we've known about this for years, people. There has been clarity. The source of the lack of clarity comes from the fraud promoters. That's where the lack of clarity comes from. If you want signal through the noise, if you want clarity, you have to listen to Bitcoin and Bitcoiners, shows like mine. I've been extremely consistent on this point for 10 years. All right. So that's enough on that. Let's go to this tweet, and I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. For guys listening on Telegram, this is the chart of total private credit by country breakdown. And all the way on the left is the year 2000 up to, looks to be about 2021. So it doesn't even have the current year, 2022, on there, or the last full year, 2022. You can see this red line is China as a percentage growth in their credit, of their total private credit. It's literally off the charts. Who's this next one up? Turkey. And look at their hyperinflation that they're going, or they have over there. India is next. Who's this green dash line? Saudi Arabia. So some of these countries, we have to watch out for. But what in God's name is going on in China? I mean, this should be a wake-up call to people that think that China is somehow this great next hegemon of the world. They were built off of credit. China is a gigantic credit bubble. They are one big credit bubble. All right, so that's enough on that. Okay, this one was interesting. Let me zoom in for this one. Lisa Bramowitz, whatever, is who tweeted this, and she says, investor allocation to equities relative to bonds has dropped to its lowest level since 2009 Bank of America's Global Fund Manager Survey. If consensus lust for recession isn't satisfied in Q2, the pain trade would be a rally in bond yields and bank stocks, according to Bank of America's HeartNet. And I'm going to share this image with Telegram. I've shared an earlier version of this, I don't know, probably end of last year or something, when it started going negative here. And this was part of my call for, when they're underweight equities, all of these, the market in general is underweight equities relative to bonds. And so when this turns around, when the Fed pivots, it's going to go the other way. So this is kind of cash on the sidelines that's ready to rotate back into equities. So we were talking about the stock market chart a little bit earlier. This is the kind of behind the scenes on this allocation and why I think that, what we're going to see. Okay, so that was it. And guys, I'm going to actually cut the podcast there for today. Tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll go through this Christine Lagarde speech, or maybe even I'll just record something independent on that. But anyway, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for all the support out there, people going to bitcoinandmarkets.com, all the new signups, people sharing out the newsletter and stuff. My content is made possible by the listeners and the support of the listeners over the years. So I thank you guys very, very much. And I hope that I can cultivate my community to be kind of a shelter from the storm in a way. All of the crazy macroeconomic and Bitcoin analysis out there, and have a little sanity to this world that I live in. I'm in the trenches of the headlines every day. And if you guys are listening to this, you're probably in the trenches of the headlines every day as well. So anyways, want to thank everyone for their support. And that's going to be it. See you next time. Bye.